Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about inheritance. So basically what are inheritance? In typical OOP, that is object-oriented programming languages, you get to see things like inheritance. That means a particular class inheriting properties of another class. So basically, why do we do inheritance, or why do we need inheritance? So there are times that you have a class, sorry, you have a contract, let's say contract A, and there are some functions you have created in contract A, and those functions you are going to need them in contract B. So instead of repeating yourself, repeating those functions in contract B, you simply just want to inherit some of the properties or some of those functions that are already in contract A and simply use them in contract B. Meanwhile, you still have the flexibility of overriding it. Even though you implement those functions, you can still override them by putting or setting the values you want to set for them in contract B. So without talking too much, I'm going to create two contracts. I'm going to call the first one the parent contracts, and so I'll call this parents, and we'll have another contract. I'll call that child. So what do we want to do here? So basically, let me do this. Let's say string name, and we'll create a function, and we're going to say set name, and we're going to make this public, and we can put this here. Okay, and then we can simply say name is equals to name. All right, so this is our first function. And another function we want to create is just get contract name. Let's just call it get contract name, because I'm just going to make it a pure function, because we're not going to modify any state or getting it from the blockchain. So it's just a local stuff we are doing right here. We're not changing any states. All right, so I'm going to do something like this. Returns. What am I returning? Do I need to return anything? Okay, I could just return a string. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so we could do return. I just want to return a string. Parents contracts. Alright, so let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Oh yeah, I think I omitted public. Alright, so this is public, so this is fine. Okay, so it's very good for you to make use of that sometimes when you're writing, in case you make any kind of mistake. You can easily check out what the error is. So there are two things I still want to add to these functions that we have here. So because this particular parent's contract, I want to inherit these functions that are here. I want to inherit them inside the child contract. So what I'm going to do is to add virtual to it. So basically what this means is when you are creating a contract and then the functions in that contract, you want to be able to access them in another contract, you need to add the virtual to it. And in addition to that, in contract B, we are also going to do something. That means when you want to implement properties of the parent's contract, you need to override. You need to add the override keyword to the child contract. So now I am purposely going to leave this virtual out of this get contract name. Let's see what's going to happen by the time we try to implement or inherit the properties of the parents. So contract parent is parents. All right. So let's do this. So basically, we want to be able to change. Another thing we want to do that you should take note of is that we want to change this value. This name, mind you, in contract A, we are setting the name to something, which is what we are going to pass here. Okay. So, but in contract B, we want to be able to change this name to something else. So, in order for us to achieve that, we need to add a constructor and then change the value of name to equal child. So now this is not crying. This is not telling us where is name coming from, because we are inheriting the properties of parents, and in parents, name is a global variable. Okay, or is a state variable. All right, so right here we are going to set, so let me not just waste my time. So let's just copy this function because we want to implement this function here. In fact, let me not copy this. I want to do this. I want to see what's going to happen. So basically, the reason I'm doing this, yes. So the reason I'm doing this, so mind you, I mentioned that when you are going to implement the functions or inherit properties of a particular parent class or parent contract in your child contract, you need to add the override keyword. So that's the only way that you are trying to override what is in contract B. Now, look at this. We are having this error. Did you forget to add virtual to it? So you need to have this, like I said earlier, in order for you to be able to call this function in another class. So I believe if we delete this and try to access this, the error we're actually having here is because we have not added override to it. Okay. So we need to add the override, and that error is gone. So for us to be able to inherit this one inside this child contract, we need to be able to add the virtual keyword to it. All right, so because we want to call it as well, we are just going to add it, and then we come over here and also add it. So we are getting that error because we have not added the effect of override to it. All right, so with this, I want to change these parents because I'm overriding it, so I'm free to change the content to what I want in this child contract. So I can change the name to child contracts. All right, so let's compile this and let's go over to deploy this particular contract. So let's start with the parents. So deploy this parent contracts, and then we come over here and set name. So we're going to set name to Glory, and then we're going to do get contracts. So the get contract is showing us parents because we are calling the parents contract. So I think one more thing I want to add, just so we can see that by the time we are calling the child contract, that the value is initially set for set name has actually changed. So we're going to add one more function. I'm going to call it get name. So let's do this. So get name, I want get name to return the name. So basically, the reason I'm doing this is because I want get name to return the new name that we are going to set from the child contract. So this is a get request. I don't need to use pure, but I'm going to change it to view. All right, so we are good. So I can copy this function now and implement it here in this child contract and add the override keyword. Okay, so let me compile this again. And yeah, so let's compile and go test out what we have done. So let's once again we start with the deploy with the parents. So on these parents, I'm going to set Glory as name. So if I do get name, it's going to show Glory. That's good. So then if we do get contract, it's going to show parent contract because that's what we set there. So the next thing we want to do right now, so mind you, we have set names for Glory. So in the child contract, let's go over to the child contract. So mind you, I have modified this value in the child contract inside the constructor. So at the point of deploying the the child contract, the value for name is going to change to child. So by the time we try to do get name, we should be getting child. So let's try it out and see. So let me deploy. So I just deploy the child contract and let me move over to the child contract. So I don't want to set name right now because I can actually still modify it from here because we have the privilege of setting name. But I just want to get name. So as you can see, the get name is showing child because that was what we set. We changed the name. So that's how you change the value of a state variable in a child contract that is inheriting properties of the parent contract. And if you see get contract is also showing child contract because we override it and we are able to add child contract to it. And then we can still come back here and change it to Alice. And if we do that, if we come back to get you should be getting Alice. So that's pretty cool. So another thing I want us to also have in mind is when you are dealing with inheritance, sometimes you probably would have heard of the word super. So basically, we don't have to do all of this stuff. You can just create your own function and just use the super keyword. And let's say you do something like this, super dots, you call the name of the function that you want to get. Let's say get name. So as you can see, we have a drop down telling us some of the functions that we can actually access using the super keyword. So if you do super get name, this is going to also give us the name. So this is like you accessing the properties directly of the parent class or of the parent's contract. So get name is also going to call this get name function and fetch it for us. All right, so let me quickly undo this. Let me just create a normal function and call it get another name, just experimenting. So let's see what happens. Because I don't want to override this time around, but I just want to call the get name function. So just like creating a regular a function in my subclass, in my child contracts. All right, so I can do this return super. So super is a keyword that you use to inherit properties of a parent class or any class directly. So I can do get name. So I can actually access get name from there. So now let's see. I think this is giving us some warning. So function state mutability can be restricted to view. Okay. So this is we're actually trying to get name here. So I think from the parent class, what's get name doing is actually view. So that means we need to add view to it. So that's the problem because we're doing a get request and we didn't add view. So yeah. So I haven't added view. We can still do this. So let me deploy this contract and go and get name. So I just want to check something. So basically, I'm not overriding, like trying to like, I'm just using the super to call that function, to call this get name function from here. So that way I don't have to override and do what is here. But mind you, I have to still return the type that this function I want to call is also expecting. So the return type for this function is still string, and also is a get. So that's why I can use this view and all that. So if I come back to, I think I'll just do this quickly. So first off, we're going to deploy the parents, and then we are going to, I think this is like the old one, let me redeploy. So we're going to deploy the parents and then call this James. Set name, get name, James. All right, cool. So let's go back and deploy this, and then this. So this is the child contract. So if I do get another name, now get another name is giving me child, like I told you previously, giving us child because that was also set here. So this get another name and get name, they're pretty much doing the same thing right now. So the difference is I'm not overriding that the inherited contracts, but yeah, I'm just using super to get the function. All right, guys. So I believe you have understood how to work with inheritance, how to use the super, the override, the virtual keyword, and how to modify the state value of a particular class or contract in another contract. So if you have any question, please drop it in the comment section. And I hope you have learned something from this particular video. Please do it to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.